bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Segmer's got there. Micaletto! He's been knocking on the door. He knocks it down.
Diving into all the biggest stories and top headlines.
You are ripping and roaring today.
This is USL All Access.
It's almost impossible to recreate that level of magic.
With Mike Watts and Devon Kerr on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome, everyone, to a new edition of USL All Access on this Tuesday night. Fun edition of the show coming up. Matt Mahoney, the captain of Colorado Springs, set to join us to re-engage with the great championship run of yesteryear, which was just last year. Also take a look at all the change around the Switchbacks this offseason and how they've gotten off the blocks ahead of their game on Wednesday against San Antonio. We'll take a look at Open Cup results from the past week, some teams that desperately needed a win got one, and some great rivalries renewed in the championship to chat about from last week. As ever, it's Devon Kerr with Mike Watts. Flip it, reverse it. Emmett McConnell's at the controls. Devon, I'm sure there was a witty question that I was going to ask you, but how's it going, man?
I'm doing well, and obviously you are too today, because you flew through that 50 seconds without any issue whatsoever. I'm really proud of you, to be honest, on this magical Earth Day. Good weekend, good Open Cup run. You and I decided to give up sleep in 2019 to partake in this tournament. We've never looked back. Some upsets for sure. I wanted to talk about Earth Day, if you have a second for me. That's okay with you?
I wish I didn't, but I do. So
Perfect.
We're doing it.
So, against my better judgment, I decided not to send the world's greatest tweet today. Probably the second greatest, but, I still can't talk about the 2020 final that happened, and that tweet is just sitting in the outbox waiting to pick up Wi-Fi. Today's Earth Day, obviously. USL HQ ran a promo on the USL shop. Gave you 20% off, Earth 25. Go check it out. Awesome stuff for an incredible cause. I liked it and retweeted, Mike, and I composed the tweet that said something along the lines, great cause here. Go support. Get some of your favorite gear. Return, space for dramatic effect. Mike knows that I love my decimals normally, but I went with the elongated space. And then I said, disclaimer with an asterisk next to it. Mike Watts bobblehead and coleslaw accessory that accompanies is not part of the promo. I damn near had a field day in the car typing it up at the red light. Then I realized that it probably wasn't the best idea to send. A good idea mixed for a good cause, but a bad idea next to a good cause. 1 + 1 didn't make 2 there.
Devon, they're called ellipses, okay?
Yeah. Sure.
This is my attempt at bobbling.
Would you want a bobblehead of yourself?
I don't know that I'd like how it would turn out.
And what would you be wearing in the bobble?
Yeah, I don't know that either. But I guess the bigger issue is, that Ronaldo bronze statue? I'm glad that happened to him, specifically to him. But, I wouldn't wish that on anyone else, including myself.
Have you ever seen when, was it James Corbin who, Corbin? Why am I forgetting the last name?
James Corden.
Thank you. Who pranked Beckham and his statue? Oh, yeah. Phenomenal. The LA Galaxy statue looks like, 10 bar fights in a row that made his face 27 feet long and his body was like 5 inches.
Yeah, no, that tracks.
Dropped it in the loading dock.
Well, and there's the AT&T commercial going on about Mini Mello. Please be good, please be good. And then they zoom in on it. And it's
I haven't seen that.
It's a Mini Mello. Okay.
That's good. I haven't seen that one.
Okay. Well, Dev, there ain't going to be statues of either of us anytime soon. Let's get on to the USL All
Only the ones that are
it.
burned down.
Yeah. There are 2 cup competitions that will be in play starting this coming week. You've got Open Cup, which continues 2 weeks away from the round of 32 when the MLS teams come in. All the championship sides are now involved. There's also Jägermeister Cup, the intra-league cup, called the Carabao Cup of American soccer.
I have a problem here. Listen, we started promoting this last year, and all I said was if we were going to partake in it, tiny request, some promo material on the back shelf. That too much to ask?
There are several employees of the Mouse that would not like
hey,
it
everybody.
You would not like it on the shelf.
You've been asked a couple of times. I know I have.
Maneuvered all the alcohol off my shelf.
Have you ever actually left it up during a game and prior your producer says probably a good idea to get rid of that adult spirit?
I've gotten away with it.
You've gotten away with it.
I've gotten away with it.
Wow. But unknowing. You didn't do it on purpose. You weren't sly, obviously.
No, of course not. We'll take as much Jaeger as they're willing to put on a pallet. Dev, Jägermeister Cup kicks off this coming week. We'll chat a little bit about it later. Let's get to the Open Cup. Game's already well in the rear view. 8 teams went in round 1, right? Straight up. If you didn't make the playoffs last year, you didn't get the benefit of anything. If you made the playoffs, top 16 a season ago, you went into the 3rd round. That's where we find ourselves now. Championship sides went 9-4-5. There were 4 matchups between the championship clubs, just the way it worked out, which meant there were 2 of those losses coming against other championship teams. And then Omaha and Tacoma, League One side, the former championship team, now next pro team, won over San Antonio and Oakland. You want to walk through the rest of the data of Open Cup round 3?
Sure. So out of the 5 draws, I actually found these quite interesting, to be honest. AV Alta, correct me if I'm wrong, you were on that game over Orange County in the penalties.
Yep.
That lasted late into the night as if you needed more time knocked off your schedule.
Seriously, I looked at Gary, and Gary looked at me, and he goes, man, I hope we don't get extra time and penalties in the first game, because, boy, that's going to make for a tight turnaround for us to get to the second. I went, Gary, the games are 4.5 hours apart. And he goes, the game's at 6. I go, yeah. He goes, I thought it was at 6:30. Great, no problem. But by bringing up extra time, my guy, Gary Bailey, of Succeed Under Pressure fame, basically guaranteed it.
Shocking.
When Mahoney War put that in the 83rd minute, I knew for sure we were going 120 and pens. It was guaranteed.
Not escaping the inevitable. Everybody at home, there is an unspoken rule among broadcasters that usual in these situations where there's 2 games or you're exhausted, and sometimes just out of pure spite to make sure that you know that you're right, you do not talk about overtime. You do not talk about extra time, whatever you want to call it, and you certainly do not bring up penalties.
End this ish in 90.
It's like Voldemort, the name that shall not be spoken. I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but I'm smart enough to know that the kids love that type of idea. You called this, though. You did say, I wanted to get on it. I was too tired. I could only do 1 game. Alta over Orange County, boom. Phoenix over Tulsa, nice result there. Rowdies over Naples in 37 penalties. It was actually 20, but Rowdies take it down 9-8, 10 each. El Paso, rolling, baby. The loss after Birmingham, they're still back on it. Wilbur Cabrera got them over New Mexico United. They've had a little dip. And the Red Wolves over Vegas. 4 lower division upsets in 16 games total. The one that didn't get upset, though, we are upset over. Our Burrito Boys. El Farolito bows out of the Open Cup. The Darlings once again lose 1-0 to Sacramento Republic. Sebastian Herrera in the 29th minute. Rower Lopez, he's back, baby. ACL injury back in May of 2024. Ironically, that was in an Open Cup game. The difference was it was around a 16 game over San Jose. They won 4-3. He went out in the 59th minute. It's his first goal contribution since about a month prior. It was May 4th against Phoenix Rising. Although he's been back for a couple of games, he was incredible. I think the way that he changes the overall dynamic of this team, Mike, within the midfield, stretches the game. He can play off of that front line. He's also willing to do the dirty work down underneath. I brought it up in pregame and said, here's what I expect out of him. 15 minutes in, I could not have given a more glowing recommendation of his overall performance. Alas, the highlight of the night was certainly Mike Watts on air getting dubbed down with some sour cream at halftime with the burrito that was brought in.
All right, look, there were 4 burritos to choose from. The one that was brought to me had sour cream on the edge. What
so
was
that
I supposed to do?
So that everybody understands, we've spoken about coleslaw before. Mike, please let them know your decision in life to forego very specific food and food groups.
If it's white and creamy, it's not for Mimi.
Got it. No sour cream.
Yogurt.
No cheesecake. No yogurt. Certainly no coleslaw because that's mayonnaise.
No mayonnaise.
Is there any white food that you eat?
Rice.
Queso.
Melted cheese is fine. Queso is fine.
Do you eat white cheese?
If it were melted.
Tortilla.
If it's melted.
If it's feta?
No.
Oh, I mean, you are. So continue the burrito story.
No, I'm just saying I didn't really have a choice.
4
This
burritos
thing
at
gets
halftime.
offered up to me,
Yeah.
and what am I supposed to do? Say nah?
Do yourself a favor. Mike will be the first one to tell you this. I never promo myself on social media. I never do it. Go to Twitter, click on @DevonKerr9, look at the video, because to be fair, all fun and games. It's about the Open Cup. It's about these magnificent stories. Sac Republic has certainly made glorious runs over the past couple of seasons. El Farolito, the amateur squad, they have been the team, America's team, if you will, out of California that they've all followed. We had some fun at halftime. That was culinary based. Watch the video and watch Mike's facial expression after he takes a bite. It will alleviate any stress, any poor day that you've ever had, because it is something that it brings joy to the heart. And I'm saying that because it's just fun. It's all good fun, man.
Right. You didn't have to eat sour cream on television.
You're going to drop a tub of sour cream over my grave when I'm buried. Yeah, while you bury me.
Yeah. Dev, while we're at it, I know you're in the Roots gear. RIP Roots in this tournament.
Yeah.
With Tacoma.
Gone. They were one of the ones that lower divisions that were taken down. Special thanks, and I love how this all comes full circle. I'll try and be quick here. Tommy Huddle, communications front office man for the Oakland Roots, kind enough to send this jersey as well as Mike's jersey that he donned a couple of shows back. Not only is it an awesome kit, a dedication to the Oakland A's, we got into a conversation with the head coach of El Farolito, and Santiago. He's going through this story and this breakdown about the bar that they own next to the original restaurant and this reporter that followed him. Long story short, this story is from 2017 or 18? 18.
Sounds right.
From 2018 about the lower division, the amateur squad's run. Tommy Huddle is the writer, is the reporter. Everything comes full circle. So nothing but a glowing recommendation, obviously, given by Santi. And Tommy said, that's my guy. Traded a couple of tweets with him. Tommy, thank you for all that you do. And certainly thank you for the kind gesture of sending these jerseys over to us.
Goated, my guy. So too, anything made by Charlie. They know what's up. All right, Dev. Before we hit a couple other headlines on the way out, round of 32 is 2 weeks away now. Any matchups you've got your eye on? You and I get the benefit of sort of looking through and going, what looks most enticing?
Cherry picking?
A little bit. And yeah. I think you and I both honed in on one automatically, Charleston and DC.
100%.
A combination of where DC's at and the geographic nature of it. Like, I will say this, the fact CBS is putting these games on cable is such a benefit to the Open Cup. I understand where everyone goes, hey, it was so easy to watch it on YouTube. Like, tournaments don't exist on YouTube and make money.
No.
Like, you need to support U.S. soccer in some financial means, and this is a way to do it. So, huge credit to CBS for jumping in and putting games where whether more people can watch it for free, no, probably not, although Golasso Network offers plenty of games for free. But more eyeballs on these players and these teams, absolutely. And I'm 1,000,000% behind that. You and I are not doing any CBS Sports Network games in the next round. We just got the games that called to our souls.
Yeah, call to the soul. Again, the emotional side of things. I mean, look, DC Charleston, love that game. I think there's a ton of matchups you can look at and go, that'll be interesting. Red Bull on short rest going cross country to Colorado Springs. That's a fun one. Minnesota Louisville. Would love to be on that game. really, really liked our DC Charleston game and the stories that are, I mean, the fact that Troy Lesane played on the
For the
field,
Battery.
played on the field in college where the Battery currently play, yet alone the fact that it's where the Battery play now, and he played for the Charleston Battery, an All-American Division II back in the day, now head coach of DC United. There's so many stories in there. Union Omaha, you and I will be on that one at St. Louis. Well, I think their odds are a little bit tighter than what we're going to see in the Charleston, D.C. Match. That's a fun one. Houston at Phoenix. Houston has tried to rotate in previous years. Didn't go well against Detroit. Sac in San Jose. Look, there's a ton of games in this round that you could look at and go, ooh, that's going to be a fun one. I think we're all spoiled with the final 32 teams.
Yeah, we've lucked out a little bit here. All right, Dev, before we head to break, let's chat about Cal Jennings for a moment. The dude has hit 70 career goals now. 2-1 win for a 2-1 victory of TBR. I'm lost.
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
That part I get.
Yeah.
Win? Victory? Which game was this?
Where did I write?
When did this happen?
Yeah, the 2-1 result. Over the Rowdies. They had the weekend off.
Oh.
What's the problem?
Weekend. I'm like, what?
Let's try and act like we know a little bit about the rundown.
I'm trying out here. I guess I was looking at the Rowdies game on the weekend and going like, well, I mean, Cal's not even there, and then there's this, and then there's that, and he's not at Louisville. 10th ever to get to 70, fastest ever do so. Dev, you've got some stats on it.
So I've got a stat on here that I didn't put on the format, but so he's the fastest to reach 50, fastest to reach 60, fastest to reach 70. Also on a 4-game scoring streak. That's consecutive matches where he's been able to tickle the nylon. His record is 5. Had an opportunity on May 3rd to take down Hartford. That's the next championship match. Obviously, we've got the Jaeger Cup. He's got the second best regular season strike rate in USL Championship history. Mike, can you name the other 3? Because I'm going to ask you who's the best in the top 5. I guess name the 4. I misspoke in the way that I worded that. Who's the best ever? Put it that way.
Clearly, I'm lost in Cam Lancaster.
100%. Yeah. Not even a question.
You know,
I actually think 3 of these are very easy, personally. Do you know who the other ones are?
I don't.
Chandler Hoffman.
Yeah, that tracks.
Dane Kelly.
Yeah, of course.
Wilson Harris.
Oh.
He's actually 3rd. I was surprised by that. Also interesting that 3 out of the top 5 wore Louisville jersey. No surprise there. Louisville City moving beyond that. I had the hint ready for Mike, but he didn't want it. Did you have a favorite matchup, by the way, in the round of 32 of a game that you're not calling?
Oh, game I'm not calling. Louisville, Minnesota feels winnable.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a game that could be had.
Also, Minnesota, as good as their start has been in MLS, they're death by 1,000 draws. So we've seen that before.
You go into the Open Cup and, game starts to stretch and yeah. Just saying.
Big results on the weekend. Take us to break.
All right, when we come back, the win that Hartford so desperately needed and the loss that Birmingham has to be thinking, really, still? Plenty of other results to chat about. It's all coming up on USL All Access.
Let's get back to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
We're back, everyone, on USL All Access on this Tuesday night. Same part of the show. It's available tomorrow on the USL YouTube page or on the Sirius XM app. All right, Dev, let's chat about some key results over the weekend in the championship. Hartford, we've been asking for the better part of a month now that the vets stand up and have their moment. And finally a victory. It comes over a lackluster Birmingham side that probably counted this as their best chance to get off the schneid in a little while. And they bottled it. Deshane Beckford at 71. The last remaining team in the championship without a win is over. And yet, Dev, because 2/3 of the teams in the league make the playoffs, Hartford is still hanging around. And I would argue talent-wise, they're still in pretty decent shape, all considered.
All right. So we're right back to the conversation of there's no bite in the final third for Birmingham Legion. I'm going to shelf that for now, only because we've been a little bit deep on the Eastern Conference hammers for the past couple of weeks.
It's next to the Jägermeister on
Bingo.
the shelf that
which
is not
which is non-existent. Bingo.
Yeah,
Well done. I want to tip my cap to Hartford, not just Mike because they get the win. Kudos. Much needed for sure. The last remaining team in the USL Championship coming into the weekend that had not tasted victory yet. That's out of the way. Love it. I liked it because they were super clean on the ball, especially on the back line. Joey Farrell, Jordan Scarlett, Samadi on the left side, Seb Anderson. To me, it was the most efficient they had been with the ball at their feet, but they were dynamic in the way that they attacked the game, not in the attack. I was just very impressed. I felt like it was the first time I had watched them, and I had gone, wow, there's a ton of different ideas here, and they're really trying to take the game to their opponent. They spread it thin. They went direct. They got hold-up played from Dieng up top. They literally got a little bit of everything. They only got one goal out of it, and they had a barrage in the final, 10 minutes of the match where they basically just had to sit on their heels and hope that the Legion didn't hit the back of the net. But this was one of those ones where I came out and I went, you know what? Thank you very much for staying true to yourselves. There's the character that we were talking about for so long that we've been waiting to see and eking one of these out. Well done, Brendan Burke. Well done, Hartford Athletic. I hope there are many more to come. And a friendly reminder to everybody at home that as this show is being talked about on this beautiful Tuesday evening, that through all the trials and tribulations and massive piles of you-know-what that we've had to wade through now for the first 5 matches for Hartford Athletic, Rowdies can make the same argument. It's so early, and they're 2 points back of the playoff line. There's just so much time left.
Yeah. Hartford 1-0 over Birmingham. How about Louisville and the Rowdies? This traditionally is sort of one of those matches that we all circle, right? I mean, this is a Eastern Conference final preview. It's hasn't really been that way the last year or two. I would argue. I think Neil Collins added a lot to that, and there's been some turnover in the roster, but it is still the Rowdies and Louisville City. Louisville, the only remaining unbeaten team in the championship, a 2-1 win over the Rowdies. Dev, if you're Louisville City, it felt in control to me as I watched it.
I would agree. Yeah. I'm still amazed by the amount of pressure that the front line puts people under. And I'm not just saying from an advanced position. They are so good from an organizational standpoint of shifting side to side, recognizing their triggers of, okay, now's not the time to go, sitting back, allowing the midfield to work underneath them, pivot to the other side, box people in. This is the 11th season for Louisville City. It's the 5th time through 5 matches. I know we're on number 6, but it's the 5th time through 5 matches that Lou City has gone unbeaten. 2015, 2017, 2018, 2022, and now 2025. 4 out of those 5 have actually been 6 games unbeaten. I challenge you, Mike Watts. Do you know what year is the best start to any Louisville City squad in the history of the championship?
2022.
Wow, I'm shocked that you got that. Did you really? I'm blown away by the fact that you knew that off the top of your dome. They were 10 games unbeaten, 7-0-3. You know why I'm shocked that you got that? Because everybody, myself included, when I looked this up, everybody remembers the struggle kind of down the stretch and how that team basically crawled themselves into a final, even though at that point in time, they were setting organizational best for wins, points, home form. They were incredible. But yes, 10 out of 34 unbeaten to start the year.
All right. Meanwhile, let's close with this before we go to break. Matt Mahoney is on the other side. Phoenix and Sacramento finished 2-2. The opening goals from the Republic, Sebastian Herrera, and then Vonner, who got Goal of the Week nominated in the 34th. Margarita scores at 37, and then Rivera scores the equalizer at 78 for Phoenix. Finishes 2-2. Doesn't this feel a little familiar for Sacramento? Doesn't this feel a little like last year?
It feels a lot like last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of last year was spent without Roro Lopez. And now that you get him back, albeit for 16 minutes in this game, he's going to add to it. There's going to be a level of accountability, as is the emotion from Neil Collins to kick in as this goes. You got to want this. I mean, it's that simple. You've got to want it. Like you have to find a way to get yourself over the end line. And it's not a tactical question. It's you got to look yourself in the mirror, Mike, and say, who's with me? Who's willing to do it? 5 goals now given up in the final 15 minutes of the game. No one in the championship have given up more. 6 points conceded from winning position. No one else has conceded more. That's not true. I just realized that in my brain it sounded great. 6 points is second. Indy has given up 7. Sean McCauley is apoplectic, and Neil Collins is beside himself. That's where we're at right now. It'll change over time.
Well,
because I would say the one thing to me that's different than last year is Sack has always been in control of these games. Last year it felt like they were just kind of around. I don't feel about that. I don't feel about this way about that team.
I'd agree with that. All right, when we come back, the captain of Colorado Springs is Matt Mahoney. He joins us from the baby's room to chat a little bit about last season, this season, and long-term ambitions for him. Matt Mahoney coming up after the break.
Giving insight to all the biggest moments in Championship and League One. This is USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everyone. It's USL All Access on this Tuesday evening. If you miss any part of the show, it's available on the Sirius XM app, as well as the USL YouTube page tomorrow. Mike Watts, Devon Kerr, and Emmett McConnell at the controls. We mentioned earlier, anytime you get a reigning champion here, there's just a little more juice, a little more energy in the building. And so it is with the 9th-year championship player. We've known him from Bethlehem to Sacramento to Colorado Springs. Champion last year with the Switchbacks. Matt Mahoney joins us. Matt, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure's all ours. I feel like there's a kinship, the two of us, East Coast guys.
Yes,
I kind of want to start by going way back, sir. I mean, I'm like 2 years older than you, bro. Devon is sir.
Only physically, Watts. Mentally, you're much more substandard than that.
Yeah, that's right. I want to go all the way back, right? Like Delaware born, Union grown. Sort of describe like Colorado Springs feels like way out there. And yet I think when Devon and I were there for the final last year, it felt like everyone was in love with the area and living there. Like what's drawn you to Colorado Springs and allowed you to make that your home over the last 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, obviously it was the appeal when Brendan Burke came out here. He made it kind of really feel like what the Steel was back when I first signed it, just a comfortable place to be. Obviously with Hoagie out here and now Chambo being the head coach, my ex teammate, it was kind of like everything kind of like aligned pretty well. And then you get out here and you have the mountains, a beautiful view. Obviously the new stadium that was built for 2021 when I first came out here was obviously a massive appeal. And being able to, win that championship at home last year was, the icing on top of the cake. But honestly, it's just a nice place to settle down, have the wife and the family now right next to the stadium downtown. And we've kind of made it our home. All the guys that came from the East Coast, we kind of tried to bring that East Coast mentality here. And now we've kind of created that culture here and kind of made it our own.
Yeah, it's funny. We get there last year, and I think a lot of people would be easy to see last year as an overnight success. But you were there from the beginning of this rebuild. We speak to Alan McCann or James Chambers or Hoagie or even Brendan Burke, and they describe this process building year after year. What made last year so special at the tail end of this rebuild to be lifting a trophy at the end of the year? What felt different about last season?
I think the character we ended up having in the locker room towards the end of the season. I think that's something we've been working toward, the 4 and now 5 years that I've been here. And we got close in 2022 with that stellar group. And then obviously guys leaving, Haji leaving at the time and things like that. It just didn't come together. And then there was kind of another rebuild in 2023. But, Chambo got the reins last year. Obviously we didn't start too well. But he was big on character, big on what the locker room is all about. And we have our core guys that have been here for 4 or 5 years, other guys like Zach Zandy, Stevie Echeverria, Chris Herrera that have been on the team for 4 or 5 years now. And we're kind of trying to build around that and get other like-minded people. And at the end of last year, we just feel like everything was aligning together. The final 2 games that we had away that we needed to get results, we got them with other help in the league. And then, I think it was 5 clean sheets out of 6. So our defense was coming together, which wasn't what it was all year. So I think kind of everything aligned at the right time for us to kind of hit that run.
Matt, I want to stay on the final here for a second. To your point, to close out the season, 6 straight wins, Defensively, not just perfect, literally impenetrable. 10 wins in the final 14. Started slow, and we'll get to that in a second. But when you go back to the final itself, I want you to walk me through the first half because it was a strange one. I remember Mike and I being upstairs just kind of looking around. There's all this emotion. There's this passion. You guys have a good start. Juan scores his goal in the 22nd minute, and it felt like you guys were going to take off, miss some chances. But then it's the injury, right? Delence-Pierre goes down. Duke Lacroix was already on limited minutes because he was hurt coming into the game. He came in. You score a second just before halftime, and then another injury. And it felt like all the energy, although on a 2-0 lead, had dropped out of the stadium. Quincy Armand had to come in for Yosuke. Can you kind of walk us through all of those changes in the first half and what the communication was like in the dressing room from your manager after 45 minutes of play and those injuries?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of goes to what we're trying to be all year long. And that was kind of next man up mentality. So, Duke had been my partner back there for a lot of the season. And then obviously Coach went with Delence for the final, and there were injuries and things like that. But that's kind of what we were speaking to, is like Juan wasn't in there all year long either, but then hits his great stride at the end of the season. It was our finals MVP and our most important player. But it was an interesting vibe. I mean, the way Rhode Island came out, it was a very intense physical game. They tried to kind of throw us off what we were good at, and we were able to stick to it. And we felt like once we really got that second goal and went to the halftime, Chamber was just like, it's there. Like, all we have to do is go out and win the game, manage the second half. And then once we got the third goal, the Ronaldo breakaway, from there, it was just enjoyment. I mean, the stands were still electric. It was the most packed I've ever seen Widener Field. So I think it literally was just next up mentality, and whatever we needed to do to go win, we felt confident that everybody that was on the bench, and in the 18 was going to be able to do it.
Matt, you guys certainly added some quality talent in the offseason, retained a nice core. I want to start on some of the departures here for a second. You lost Tyreek McGee, his playmaking ability in the 10, Jairo Enriquez on either side of the wing, right? Ronaldo Damas up top in the 9. Delence-Pierre, one of your backline partners that we just talked about, probably the biggest loss is Speedy Williams within the midfield. Can you maybe walk us through what the adjustments have been like for you guys without bringing in the additions, just kind of how you guys have had to adjust to those big names that I just talked about departing the club?
Yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment. I think the start to our season kind of is a little similar to what it was last year. Obviously not hitting the ground running like we kind of wanted to. But listen, that's how the USL is sometimes. We've kept our core guys, but again, about half the group is new. So we have, again, great additions with, Anthony Fontana in there, who I played with a while ago, and Marco Micaletto, who was proven at New Mexico last year, obviously is a great player. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot of guys in the spine. If you want to talk about Speedy and McGee, who are in the midfield and the spine, and then Ronaldo up top, who was a consistent starter for us. So it's kind of replacing key players in the spine. Which is what we're working on right now. We're working on integrating everybody, getting relationships built, and we realized we kind of had to restart and can't necessarily pick up where we were last year because we don't have the same players. So we have to kind of reteach and revamp, Chambo style. But we know what we can do and what we've done under Chambo, and so we know we'll figure it out.
Speaking with Matt Mahoney, captain of Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC in the USL Championship Western Conference, current title holders as they took down the 2024 championship against Rhode Island FC 3-0. It feels like a lifetime ago, honestly, that game took place. Yeah. It's crazy. To your point, you guys have been here before, just 1 win through 6, but you started last year 0-5, and I can remember a ton of people, white noise spreading wildly, going, oh my God, the Switchbacks are in trouble. But you could see the patterns that you guys were working through, the quality that was on the field. Similar type conversation this season. Early on, I mentioned those additions. Bring me in through some of the new guys that have been able to make an impact. And again, I'm just going to name a couple. Methuselah on the back line, obviously, with you. Anthony Fontana, there's some history there coming over. You guys grew up in the Union together. Marco Micaletto in the midfield. Endele that can play deep. He can play up high. What have maybe been the biggest additions that those guys have brought, whether between 90 minutes on the white lines or maybe something that is an asset in the locker room?
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest thing in this group is the mentality. Through the first 5 or 6 games, even though we haven't really started how we wanted to, it's felt very different from what we were last year. The group is still very much together and still very much believes that we can achieve what we want to achieve. But we also realize that, the next one is the hardest one. So if we think we're going to be able to do the same things that we did last year, to win a championship this year, it's going to be even harder. And we're going to have to change some things up. But I would say guys like Marco's mentality are unbelievable. Enderley on the outside coming in, he's got the versatility to play fullback, winger, guys like that. And to be fair, we've had a lot of guys injured, like Aiden Rocha that has played meaningful minutes towards the end of last year that hasn't really hit this, got things going this season. But even Anthony Fontana's ability, he's played at a higher level overseas and then come back now. And then to be able to keep guys like Hanya, Duke back there. And then I've played against with Garvin a couple times now, and his size and ability to play is unbelievable. So I think once we get the relationships down and start, I think it's like that first win, a little bit momentum. Now we got the Open Cup on Wednesday, a draw at home to 10 men where we've been leaking goals. We could have easily lost that one. Now it's about building momentum, and a big one on Wednesday.
I mentioned the familiarity. You brought it up earlier to Mike about following Brendan Burke from the East Coast, obviously Philadelphia Union, Bethlehem Steel. To start this project at Colorado Springs, you add in Matt Real, Anthony Fontana, Zach Zandy. That's just players now. We could throw in the guys that helped get you out here in Stephen Hogan, Alan McCann. We mentioned Brendan Burke, and of course, a former teammate, now manager, James Chambers, obviously known as Chambo. I'm trying to workshop a name here. Philadelphia Union West just doesn't sound right.
No.
We got to bring something together to mesh it, or is that faux pas? Do we not cross enemy lines east and west?
No, we can't do that now. It's too far in the past now. As we're getting older, we realize that's too far in the past.
But we can agree on one thing. We can agree actually on two. Number one, that it will never be Philadelphia Union 2. It will always be the Bethlehem Steel. And number two, 100%. Those white jerseys with the blue collars are the most fire kits that have ever graced the USL Championship, right?
Yeah, they weren't too bad.
Watts, I know you've got one in here that you want to bring Chambo in, right?
Well, I just want to know, like, look, obviously you come out of Temple and here comes like the professional environment, and like James Chambers is your captain.
Yeah.
Like try and describe James as a captain and the difference in him now that he's managing your group.
I think we all know what Chambo was as a player and who he is as a person, and kind of like the fire and the passion that he has for the game. So I'd say he's probably the one that taught me the most about what the professional game was like when I first entered. Obviously, U.S. soccer and college soccer is very different from the environment he grew up playing in. And also for him at the time, I was one of the next oldest guys on the team at 21, 22, and he was, I think, 29 at the time. So for him to have that kind of mentality playing with, quote unquote kids at the time, it was incredible. And he just taught me like the grind and the graft for what it takes for a 10-month season. And then I would say the difference now with him as a head coach is he's kind of realized he can't be as I would say fiery and passionate as he used to be as a player. Using all the colorful language and whatnot that they love to use him and now. But no, he still got that same passion that he was as a player. He wants to still be who he is as a person and get the player. And I think that's what gets the players to want to play for him so much. But it's kind of been cool to see the transition from him, going from a player to a coach.
Matt, you've seen a lot, both your time at Bethlehem Steel, and another stop too. But with the Switchbacks specifically, when I look at the two, there have been huge upsets, right? Like massive upsets. I think back to when you guys beat Pittsburgh years ago, right? I mean, incredible. Obviously, couple of top 4 finishes, winning the overall title. I mean this in the nicest of ways. It's easy to respond to this and say, I want to win another title. I'm going to ask you about accomplishments in a second, but the easy response is, I want to go out. I want to win everything. I want to win as many titles. I've always found that if I dig a little bit deeper, Mitch Tainer is a good conversation. Oddly enough, he's going to be your opponent in a couple of days about individual accomplishments. That doesn't mean that you have to go and win Defender of the Year.
Yeah.
It could be, I want to make sure that my team is getting X amount of shutouts this year. When you come into this season, did you go, this is something from an individual standpoint that I'd like to achieve, and then maybe how it impacts your group overall? Are you that type of person?
Yeah, I try to think. I try to think of those and have kind of seasonal goals every year individually. But obviously trying to being the captain and trying to take on that leadership role. I have a lot of conversations with Chambo and Alan. They're great about that stuff. And for me, it was talking about service and kind of what I could do for the team to make the other players better. And kind of trying to keep that hunger. Like I said before, you don't realize how hard it is to repeat. That's why only one team has done it in the league ever. So we know we have a tall task at hand. And so obviously the leadership in our group is massive, coming from the staff down to me and to the rest of the players. So for me, it was service. And I think that, I know what I am in my career at this point. And I know what I could do in this league. And arguably I had my best season last year. So if I could replicate that, then that'd be fantastic. But I think if I can make the other players around me better, then I think that's going to make our group better overall, and then give us the best chance to go and repeat.
Just to follow up on that, Mike and I always joke that we don't vote on awards at the end of the year. There's a whole nother story, which we're happy to bring up. I'm sure Nicholas Murray will get it back to us at some point in time. When you found out that you didn't win Defender of the Year, can you maybe take us through your reaction? Certainly you had my vote.
Yeah, thank you. Chamberlain and I talked about it, and he said he thought I deserved it. And honestly, I feel like that's the attitude you have to have. I think I deserved to win it, but again, like the other two players also played great. I think it was Graham Smith and what's his name from SAC right now? Jack Gert. So honestly, like I'm not somebody that's salty. I'm going to sit here and say like, oh, I was better than these guys. They played great, and I know there's a lot of other things that go into it. But again, like at the end of the day, we won the championship. So that's the most important thing for me. And the personal accolades are great. But when I entered the league, I never thought that these were just some things that I wanted to achieve. I just thought I wanted to make a name for myself. I want to go play and perform well and win a championship. And I think it was the best accolade last year, being able to go and win that. And then every individual thing that comes after that is kind of just nice recognition.
This is how I know, Mike, that the relatability factor is at an all-time high between Matt and I, because a captain tells you everything you need to hear, everything you want to hear, and you can BS the best of them. Because I promise you, he found out, and he walked into that other room, and it was full of expletives going, mother,
No.
you know what? Just kidding, man. I know, for people that don't know, an opportunity to get to know you, sir, over the years, as humble as you can be, always staying within the moment, always trying to find, to your point, the next piece of success, next half, next 90 minutes, next season, whatever it may be. It's obviously driven you to great spots in your career. I'm actually curious where your head's at in terms of the next step, because we're starting to get to that point where eventually your mind is going to have to turn it another way. You're in your 9th season. You turned 30 just a couple of days ago. Happy belated, by the way. The gift's in the mail.
Thank you.
We all can't play forever, right?
Yeah.
We would love to, but the body eventually says, okay, it's time. Have you given any thought as to maybe what could be the next step for you? Obviously, James Chambers, one of your mentors, that's a great example of playing to coaching to now head coach and title. Have you thought about it?
I'm going to say no, actually. I'll be honest with you. Hoagie and I have had these conversations before. Obviously you got to think about it. You can't just step off the field one day and not have a plan. But I think for me, whatever it is, whether it's coaching, whether it's stepping into some sort of, whether it's like a GM sporting director role after, I think it's got to be something in the game. It's something I've done for so long, and I love the sport. I've played in the USL for 9 years now, and hopefully for many more. And so I think it's something that I know very well and I'm very passionate about. So we'll see. I've got also a sports performance background, which is what I initially wanted to do, when I was in college. So I could step into that world as well. So thankfully I've got good connections, and I've got, I say a couple different avenues I could potentially pursue. But again, as I'm playing, it's kind of hard to see that next step. I'm 30 now, but I still feel like I'm 25. So it's kind of tough to kind of step into that next level of my life. But thankfully I've got a couple options that I'll potentially have.
Watts, you notice that throughout that answer, at no point in time did he bring up the idea of stealing my job like a Mitch Tainer or some other guys that have come on here. So I'm feeling really good and safe right now.
You can keep it, Devin. You can keep that one.
It was noticed. It was noticed. That's why you get the vote, my man. I didn't vote for you, but it's because I don't have one. So it's unrelated to me not thinking you aren't deserving. Matt Mahoney is with us. He's leading Colorado Springs on Wednesday night against San Antonio on CBS Sports Network. I want to get to that game in just a moment. Am I wrong in saying that's Easton's room?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's not my room.
No, you've commandeered Easton's room for this interview. Look, I can't begin to understand what the last 18 months have been like for you and your family. Certainly heartbreak, but also New Year's Day, right? Welcoming in Easton to your family. Describe, because I'm about to go through it in a month, what this is like a little bit. First preseason, first set of games, first road trips. Like, what's that been like, having an addition to your family and still competing as an elite professional athlete through it?
No, it's definitely a change up. They don't joke about the sleep. The first couple of weeks with the sleep is an absolute nightmare. So I'm very lucky that it happened before preseason started, so I can kind of get those first couple of weeks under the belt. And obviously, we had family and that was able to help us, so that was amazing. But it's actually very different. You have a whole new perspective on life now, and a whole new perspective on what is important. So obviously, soccer was up there number one in my life, and now it's no longer necessarily what it is. It's still very close, and I'm still very passionate about it. But obviously, is what Chamber and I talk about all the time. Soccer ends one day, but now I have to raise this kid, for beyond that. So that's obviously the most important thing. But it's been very different. You have to kind of pick and choose your energy. You have to sleep when you can. Obviously, my wife is a superhero with this kind of stuff. She helps me out with the sleep and things like that. But it's definitely been a change, but it's also still more motivating. I can't wait for the time that I can get to when he's big enough where I can walk out on the field with him. I've always wanted to do that. So super excited for that. But it's definitely been a change. I still want to play for him, for my wife and things like that. So it's been awesome.
We just saw Alex Cronali walk out with his little baby in arms a couple weeks ago, and I think all our hearts broke at the same time. Like, how
Absolutely.
great is that? And luckily for me, broadcast is forever. So
Exactly.
I'm just going to tag this kid along until he's probably wearing a headset too, because nepotism.
Yes,
Matt, I'll close with this. Obviously, big game on Wednesday night. San Antonio. Last three games have been a bit frustrating for them after that excellent start, but a great opponent nonetheless. What excites you about the match on Wednesday that America will see on CBS Sports Network?
Yeah, just another opportunity to play. I think that our group really needs to go out and get a win. And against a top team like San Antonio, our club has not fared well, to say the least, against them over the recent years, especially since I've been at the Switchbacks. So obviously a little personal indebted to want to go there and get the win. But more importantly for the team, we just want to kind of jumpstart our season. We know San Antonio, I don't know if the third game was at home, but at least two of those losses have been at home. So we know that we can go there and potentially get points. So we're going to go there, give it our all, and hopefully come away with 3.
Matt, appreciate the time. Blessings to your family, and can't wait to see you guys on Wednesday night.
Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.
That's Matt Mahoney. Miss any part of the interview, it's available on the SiriusXM app or tomorrow on the USL YouTube page. You'll see San Antonio and Colorado Springs, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on CBS Sports Network. Back with Devin to wrap up the show in a moment on SiriusXM FC.
You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Here are your hosts, Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Back here on USL All Access to close out on this Tuesday night. Miss a part of that great interview with Matt Mahoney, the Switchbacks captain. It's available tomorrow on the USL YouTube page or on the Sirius XM app. All right, Dev, let's chat a little bit about the game coming up tomorrow night. CBS Sports Network, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. San Antonio, who were perfect through 4, imperfect over their last 3, to say the least. They got Colorado Springs Switchbacks, who got off to that, unbelievable finish last year, took home the trophy. This year has been a little up and down. Thoughts on what we're going to see tomorrow night?
Let's start with San Antonio. The hope is, what is now 3 weeks going on, a precautionary holdout for Mitchell Taintor, that they get him back on the back line. That's got to be, if not one of, the most important thing for this team. I said going into that Phoenix game on April 6th, they lack some decision-making and quality in the final third. You're still having that conversation, but now they've been exposed in defensive transitions, which is where Colorado Springs was so good at the end of last season. They're not like that anymore because their attack, and really the team overall, is more possession-based. Now, Justin Dillon, 4 goals in his first 6 matches. Great. He's got really soft feet. He likes to drop down into the pocket. You lost Jairo Enriquez. We heard Matt Mahoney how there have been some things they're working through here, Mike, going forward that they've struggled with. I would be really keen to also look at myself in the mirror on that back line and in goal as they've rotated here with Romero in now, because it kind of feels like Colorado Springs of old, where they're going to score 100, they're going to give up 99, the Brennan Burke joke from 2021. So they've got to clean it up. The good news is Colorado Springs, it's on their own accord. They've made a lot of self-imposed mistakes as opposed to their opponent breaking them down. If you get Mitch Taintor back, it tightens things up, makes it more difficult to play through. I would also say that there's got to be a little bit more aggression on the front line for Colorado Springs to try and go and attack this game and really be the dominating factor, very similar to the conversation of Birmingham Legion and Hartford, and SAC not just hanging around in a match.
Dev, coming up this weekend, the Jägermeister Cup kicks off. Last year it was League One only. This year it's everyone in the professional USL ecosystem on the men's side taking part. 6 matches in group. You do not count these towards the regular season. My favorite part of this tournament has been the tiebreaker is in points. It's goals scored. Go earn your way into the next round.
Yeah.
Matchups you like this coming weekend?
So 2 specifically, I love the Louisville-Lexington game. I just want to see them beat the ever-living you-know-what out of each other, make it emotional, and create a rivalry naturally as opposed to something that is regionally just given to you, which we've seen previously. Speaking of which, something that felt like it was just put on a silver platter, but has taken it and run with it, I'll take that SAC-Oakland game. They are in a dead heat over 12 matches, and I'm interested in that. I think that there has been cards galore, fouls, and those games always turn up with goals, as you mentioned. 7 goals in the last match, 5 in the previous, 12 over the last 180 minutes between those 2 teams.
Love it. Jägermeister Cup is available on ESPN Plus. I'm just doing the math here. I'm not saying there's a reason for it. Just looks like that's the case. Dev, did you learn anything in this show?
I learned that I was absolutely abominable, misspoke on a couple of stats, and I apologize, including Cal Jennings, spoke about Sacramento Republic. I'm aware Nicholas Murray is going to be in the inbox about 20 minutes after the conclusion of this show. I apologize to everybody at home. I'll be better next week. We all can't put in a 5-star performance every week, Mike.
No, and I learned a lot of people think beautiful art is supposed to look like something, but this was a Picasso, and that's beautiful too. For Devin, Emmett, Mike, we'll talk to you again next Tuesday night, everyone. Have a great week.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SXM app.